And good morning, officially, from our NBC News headquarters here in New York. As we come across the top of the hour, we continue our coverage of the NBC News MSNBC debate, which we've been watching tonight from Las Vegas. There were several, what we like to call heated exchanges throughout the evening, including some between Bloomberg and Bernie Sanders.
We cannot continue seeing a situation where in the last 3 years, billionaires in this country saw an $850 billion increase in their wealth. Congratulations, Mr. Bloomberg. But the average American last year saw less than a 1% increase in his or her income. That's wrong.
Mayor Bloomberg, should you exist?
I can't speak for all billionaires. All I know is I've been very lucky, made a lot of money, and I'm giving it all away to make this country better. And a good chunk of it goes to the Democratic Party as well.
You know what, Mr. Bloomberg? It wasn't you who made all that money. Maybe your workers played some role in that as well. I want workers to be able to sit on corporate boards as well so they can have some say over what happens to their lives.
Mayor Bloomberg, you own a large company. Would you support what Senator Sanders is proposing?
Absolutely not. I can't think of ways that would make it easier for Donald Trump to get reelected than listening to this conversation. It's ridiculous. We're not going to throw out capitalism. We tried that. Other countries tried that. It was called communism, and it just didn't work.
I believe in democratic socialism for working people, not billionaires. Health care for all. Educational opportunity for all.
Senator, thank you. Mayor Bloomberg,
government that works for all.
The question was about socialism.
What a wonderful country we have. The best-known socialist in the country happens to be a millionaire with 3 houses. What I miss here?
Well, you'll miss that I work in Washington, House 1.
That's the first problem.
Live in Burlington, House 2.
That's good.
And like thousands of other Vermonters, I do have a summer camp. Forgive me for that. Where is your home? Which tax haven do you have your home?
New York City, thank you very much, and I pay all my taxes.
Again, these are members of the same team. It's good to see everybody getting along as they did tonight in Las Vegas. With us here in New York as we enter our second hour of coverage, A.B. Stoddard, associate editor, columnist for Real Clear Politics. Jason Johnson, politics editor at The Root, professor at Morgan State University. David Plouffe, campaign manager for Barack Obama in 2008. And Joy Reid, host of AM Joy Weekends, 10 a.m. on this network. In the spin room in Las Vegas tonight, our own Chris Matthews. In Austin, Texas, Victoria DeFrancesco Soto, professor at the LBJ School of Public Affairs at the University of Texas. And at the big board tonight, our national political correspondent, Steve Kornacki. A lot of folks to get to. Luckily, there's time. A.B., I was watching you watch the coverage. What'd you make of that?
I thought it was a great night for Bernie Sanders. I thought it was a great night for Donald Trump. I thought it was a terrible night for the Democrats. And I don't think Bloomberg's bad night is going to matter, given the amount of money he's spending on the ground, given the fact that a lot of voters who are going to matter later are not really watching debates. They have his presence on Facebook. And on the ground, anecdotally, I cannot believe what I'm hearing about the money he's spending in all the right places with food and other things, meetings, not just those digital ads on social media. So I think he will still be in very strong stead throughout the very consequential month of March. Tonight was the night to knock down Bernie, and the Democrats didn't do it. Pete Buttigieg tried a few minutes, but not effectively enough.
Jason, it's going to be argued capitalism didn't have a great outing tonight.
Yeah, apparently, but Bernie's still a millionaire. You know, isn't it amazing America's biggest socialist is a millionaire? This is the thing. I don't think you can't take out Bernie Sanders. You're not supposed to. He's running for president. He's running for the nomination. There's a lot of people who still like him. He has every right to sort of be there, and I think it's unrealistic and silly if Democrats start trying to operate in this space of we have to take him out. That's not going to be supportive, and that's not a democratic process. But what was shown tonight is some of his weaknesses in communicating his message, which we've seen before, his inability to do anything other than gaslight America about some of the behavior of his own supporters when it comes to unions and organizations that don't fall in line with what he wants. And I think as far as Mike Bloomberg goes, look, it's not that he just did poorly tonight, because I think he did poorly. He's spending a ton of money. He's got 26 offices that he just opened in Texas. He's probably going to win in North Carolina. He's probably going to win in some of these other states. But he had a chance tonight to add personal charisma and enthusiasm above and beyond just spending money, and that he did not do. There was nothing charming or enthusiastic about Mike Bloomberg tonight, and I don't think he gained any support that he's not going to have to keep paying for.
David Plouffe, same question.
Well, this isn't anymore about like figure skating judges or diving, ratings. This is about how it connects to actually votes that you need to get now. And so the truth is Bernie Sanders is on a trajectory to be the Democratic nominee. So the question Chuck Todd asked, he was the only one that says the pledged delegate winner, well, he's probably going to be that person, or it looks like now. Everybody else said no. I heard you earlier, like the notion that the Democratic Party is going to have party insiders overturn the will of the voters, I just don't think it's going to happen. So the clock is ticking. And so I think the question is, the California poll that Steve showed, we've still got 2 weeks, but over 1 million people have already voted in California. Most of the people who are going to participate in Nevada have already voted. And so the question is, who can get into the mid-20s to high 20s, or can two people? Because if not, Sanders is going to exit March. Almost 70% of the delegates are going to be done by the end of the March with a big lead. So I think I agree with AB. Nobody laid a glove on Sanders, really. One of the reasons he's a good debater is he's never changes. It's maybe boring, but he's consistent, right? Elizabeth Warren had a very strong debate. We'll know soon what it means from a vote standpoint. And I think Mayor Pete showed some strategic, sense of, I've got a problem. For me to become the main alternative to Sanders, I have to take some vote for Amy Klobuchar. I've got to go after Bloomberg. So that was interesting. I think he was the most strategic. But at the end of the day, this election is accelerating and happening before our very eyes. So right now, so with Bloomberg, I think that is the question. Does the money overcome? Right. I wasn't surprised by her performance. He hasn't debated in 10 years. He's rusty as all get out, and he hops out there. And again, he's never loved this part of politics. He kind of endures it. And you could see that tonight. But there's another debate next week. He better improve the performance, because even with all that money, because Bloomberg's done a great job of going from 0 to 15. That means nothing. Right. Can he go from 15 to 30? And he's not going to get there with debate performances like that.
Yeah. The famously inscrutable Joy Reid. I've been watching you watch the conversation. So who's going to challenge Bernie?
Well, I actually think this was the worst debate that Bernie Sanders has had, in the sense that he has never really taken incoming. I think that the other candidates have been afraid to attack him before, both because it then stirs his supporters against you. And I think a lot of people want to hold his supporters in abeyance in case they need them at the convention, right? They want to be able to bring those supporters back in. So people have not really gone after him in the previous debates. This time, he faced the first real challenges on things that, in the journalism world we talk about a lot. The supporters is a real issue, and I'm surprised that nobody brought up the fact that some of the issues are on his staff. They're not just, they're people that are, we just saw his national press secretary go out on television and say that it's birtherism to ask about his health records. Like, this is not just, a sort of anonymous supporters from, Vladivostok that are doing it. It's a thing, right? So I think that he had, the first time that he was really challenged as to, will the message that he has resonate on a stage with Donald Trump? The person who I think presented the strongest alternative to that was Elizabeth Warren. Warren went in with a very smart, a very singular mission: get Bloomberg. She finally had the kind of billionaire right out of kind of the textbook of Elizabeth Warren's mission in life right next to her, and she went after him over and over and over again, exposed his weakness, and took the theoretical Bloomberg that a lot of us have been hearing about from older black voters, black women who have been saying, I could consider him, and made him real. My daughter, who's 24, who was a Bernie Sanders supporter in 2016, who is now a Warren supporter, texted me, what Elizabeth Warren needs to break away from Bernie Sanders is a meme. She needed a meme. Oh, she got a meme tonight. People were distributing ether, which is for people who like hip-hop. I mean, she laid out Michael Bloomberg, and that will be a meme. And for people who haven't been paying that much attention to her, they're going to pay attention to her after tonight.
Hey, Professor, in what world, Bernie Sanders had a heart attack in October. He talked about it, for him, rather forthrightly tonight. Is it because of the era we're in, because of the president we have, who made an unscheduled trip out to the Army Medical Center on a rando Saturday morning, and that's pretty much all we heard about it, that gives a Bernie Sanders cover, and there is seemingly very little outrage that he is not going to share his health records?
Well, part of it, Brian, is the number of folks who are in their mid to late 70s who are running that, in a sense, has normalized the fact that you have such older folks who are vying for the presidency, which in theory could extend out 8 years. So I think in this warped world, that's normal. The other part of it, and I think where we get that hanging on to Bernie, is that brand that he built in 2016. And we know from social psychology that when somebody has already grasped on to a positive vision of someone, they share positive affect with that brand, be it a car, be it a brand of food, in this case, a political candidate, that other information that might detract from that brand is going to be ignored. Yeah. So in the case of age, and really having to take the matter of age seriously, be it with Bernie Sanders, be it with Joe Biden, be it with Mike Bloomberg, folks who are in that camp are going to discard it. So I think that is the power with the Bernie supporters, is their brand is so deep that they are going to deflect away any information that's contradictory.
Chris Matthews has been watching and listening our conversation. Chris, the question to you is, who is going to be the challenger to Bernie from that field you witnessed tonight?
Well, Brian, I think the search goes on for the great moderate hero. I don't see the person tonight. I think it's very tough to see it in Bloomberg tonight as a great political leader, someone who will inspire you. I didn't see that tonight. It may come next week. It may be there somewhere. But Democrats fall in love. I don't think you can, as Nixon once said to Pat Buchanan, if you hear about a Stop X movement, bet on X. It's very hard to go negative about, and you have 4 or 5 candidates, each about 15, barely making the threshold, and one with 30 plus, the 30 plus guys could eventually win. And I thought it was so interesting tonight that all 6 of the candidates, I think it was David Plouffe, who said they all agreed. They all agreed that Bernie's the leader, and Bernie will be the leader if not something doesn't stop him. And they need to go for somebody. I'm beginning to think over the past week or so it's probably Elizabeth Warren. They have to find somebody who can coalesce the party's left flank and also its center-left flank, and she could do it. By the way, the interesting thing she did tonight, I'll say it again, she did not go after Bernie votes tonight. They're impenetrable. That's a phalanx around him. What she did tonight was totally different than what she's done in the past. She went after the moderates. She went after Buttigieg and Amy and Biden, and she went after Bloomberg, some potential support there. She knows that for her to catch Bernie, she has to move into the middle and grab the middle. That's where I said it to her. She didn't deny it. That's what she's up to. Her strategy now is to become the leading moderate alternative to Bernie. And that's going to be interesting because for so many months she ran as his sort of leftward best friend. And that didn't work. He took all those votes back. And now I think she's trying a totally different direction. And it'll be fascinating if you can change strategy that dramatically and win. I think she may be the one person who can do it.
All right, Chris Matthews, thank you. Question to AB before we run to a break. The rap on the Democrats often is they're trying to punish success. They're trying to punish economic largesse. Bloomberg had a moment tonight where he's like, what's happening here? What's going? Of course he made as much money as he could, was his implication. What slice of the Democratic electorate and viewership will that appeal to?
It was very interesting because it got a really good response from the crowd.
In the room, it did.
Yes, and so they sort of affirmed him mocking this conversation. I think that train has left the station for the majority of the country. It's a very pure, far left wing of the Democratic Party argument and an altar to sit on, this campaign finance argument that Elizabeth and Bernie are so obsessed with. I think Democrats just want to win, and I think that's why it was a strong moment for Bloomberg in an otherwise really sad debate. But I think that the Democrats, I think what David is articulating is that this is kind of too late. Nevada is really important in terms of tonight's attack on Bernie. Tonight was the night to do it. Next week could be too late. They did not go after him with the moderators question him on his medical records and transparency. The other candidates didn't. They did not bring up the fact that he has a spokesman out smearing Bloomberg, making up fake heart attacks and comparing it to birtherism. They did not say this is an existential election in which we are letting a socialist lead our party. And while Trump is trampling the rule of law, there's plenty of recent examples from today, the last several hours, and the previous 2 weeks since he was acquitted. No one had their pants on fire. No one declared this an emergency. I think Nevada's really critical, and if Bernie's allowed to win it, I think they're going to find they're in more trouble than they thought they were in.
We're going to have an extinguisher standing by when we come back from a break. We're going to talk about some of these fault lines in the Democratic Party, where they translate to numbers. Our numbers guy will have that when we come back.
We released reports from 2 leading Vermont cardiologists who described my situation, and by the way, who said Bernie Sanders is more than able to deal with the stress and the vigor of being president of the United States. Hey, follow me around the campaign trail, 3, 4, 5 events a day. See how you're doing compared to me.
Look, I'm actually less concerned about the lack of transparency on Sanders' personal health than I am about the lack of transparency on how to pay for his health care plans.